This is John Paul Wright. I'm coming from Tokyo, Japan. Some people call me. Today, talking about one of my least favorite people on the internet. His name is Scott Mendelson, and I really don't like his tone because he's the type of guy who says stuff like Solo, a Star Wars story failed because of a white lead. He says stuff like, well, trolls and man babies are ruining the franchise of Star Wars and things like that. He's just an overall shill, and he hits way left, and I like to play more fair, common sense in the middle. So Scott here thinks that, let's call him Scotty. Scotty here thinks that The Mandalorian is just, okay, average, not so good. I happen to think it's very good. We'll get into that some other time, but the point is, the way he describes it being not so good doesn't make too much sense to me. And there's one specific thing he says about it that's really seemingly not so professional. He says he has 11 years of history, writing, pointing out things in the film industry, and he makes a really weird point about it. Let's get into it. Alright, so here we are. The Mandalorian Review, a mediocre Star Wars story. Boo-hoo. Thanks, Scott. But when Rise of Skywalker comes out, you know it's going to be an incredibly sensational, best ever Star Wars story. Because the thing about a shill is, everything that's not the current biggest Star Wars stuff, they have to say is like, okay, mediocre. Because if they do, or the prequels, it makes it look like they like the sequel trilogy that much more. The production value is there, but the first episode of Disney Plus show feels awkwardly staged, and it's thus far coasting on the Star Wars brand name. Holy effing mother of God. You know what? Right there. So, like I said, Scott gives the Disney sequels good reviews. The Disney sequels are the classic example of Star Wars material running on the Star Wars name. Because there's very few things in there that feel like Star Wars, that hit you hard, that get emotional. So he gives the sequels great reviews, but of course this that actually really feels like Star Wars, whether you thought it was great or not, it did have a Star Wars OT feel to it, is just riding on the Star Wars name. Absolutely trashy writing for someone of 11 years experience. Let's see what the real weird thing is. So the big spoiler that Disney claimed necessitated them hiding The Mandalorian from the critics until Disney Plus's launch day is no big deal. No, I'm not going to reveal it, but it's mostly an amusing surprise and not remotely the kind of reveal event that would justify both hiding the show from critics or hyping it up. It's also not the kind of thing that critics would have revealed in the pre-release reviews, but it's generally not how we operate. But the most important spoiler in regard to the first episode of the new live-action Star Wars television show is that it's not all that good. Yes, it's just the pilot, but considering it's directed by Dave Filoni, written by Jon Favreau, and considered to be the big event on Disney Plus's launch day, is a disappointment. Also worked on by George Lucas, by the way. He goes on here to say it looks good, the money's on the screen, the budget's good. We know, that's kind of expected. So he criticizes here, pretty much a criticism for any pilot. Not any pilot literally, but most pilots are kind of building up the story, setting things up. Pilots usually don't have like crazy action in the beginning. They usually a little bit of a setup. Most of the pilot is less about a singular story or even table setting than it is a mere waiting game as we wait to discover who or what the Mandalorian is hunting, because that's actually what he does. A Mandalorian hunts things, so it's obviously going to be a pretty big part of the story. And frankly, things only kick into the gear in the final 10 minutes. It's only 38 minutes. So the final 10 minutes is a full fourth of the show, by the way. And it's not like there was like boring things up to there. He fights some creature when he lands on the planet. He catches a bounty. He has a fight in the bar. It's not like, it was like all boring for 30 minutes. There was stuff going on throughout the whole thing. There was a lot to see. There was a lot of props. And, I don't think it was like a draggy 30 minutes at all. So here's some people were saying that the Western shootout style at the end was kind of, a traditional movie scene. It felt kind of copied. It felt kind of generic, but, maybe not. Is that really a big deal? I was watching it. It was just good action. The IG droid was just shooting things. I was wondering what was going to happen. I wasn't sitting there like, this is kind of a traditional thing that's been done in a, Western shootout movie. No big deal. Let me get into one weird thing I think he said, and he kind of repeats himself a little bit. So what I'm going to say now, he kind of repeats at the end of the article. He takes 2 paragraphs kind of to get the same idea out, and I just thought this was like one of the really weirder things he said. Simply put, it doesn't feel like a movie, but it also doesn't feel like a TV show. Maybe it's the frame rate issue, but much of the show, especially interiors, have the look and feel of a stage play, which is that much more of a problem considering the dialogue isn't all that sharp. Now, for me, I thought the dialogue was one of the stronger things. I mean, they kind of got the alien personalities and repeats the aliens did with phrases, even the IG droid, kind of feeling like Star Wars. And he's saying it doesn't feel like a movie, but it doesn't feel like a TV show. He can't put his finger on it. He can't put his finger on it because he's just saying something idiotic. It feels like a really good TV show to me, and it doesn't really feel like a movie because it's not a movie. So, yeah, it feels like a TV show. I think we got that right, Scott. Staged? I don't know. I didn't find the acting particularly bad. Even if you didn't like The Mandalorian that much, did you find the acting bad? I mean, you could say maybe it was slightly stiff, problems here or there, but it really was fine, I think. I don't think you would write an article and say, oh, this acting was so bad, this was terrible. I think the acting was fine. I think Scott is totally overreacting and that it's at least good. I mean, I can't imagine anyone giving this like under like at least, let's just say a 6 out of 10. You know, I personally think it's closer to a 9. I jumped, I said 10 out of 10. I think I was a little excited, but I still hold that it's really, really good. So, anyway, you guys let me know what you think about this down below. I'm doing shoutouts, special thanks, things like that. Click that subscribe button. If you haven't, subscribe. I said it twice, so that means maybe you'll do it, and that's it. See you next time.